Hey everybody, Nick Espinoza, your chief security fanatic here. In AI transparency news, transparency laws regarding artificial intelligence are getting their first test. Kinda. Now, here's what's going on, and Kyle Wiggers of TechCrunch had a really good write-up on this, and let's dive right in, because this past Sunday, California Governor Gavin Newsom signed in a bill, AB 2013, that requires companies developing generative AI systems to publish a high-level summary of the data that they used in order to train their systems. Now, among the points, these summaries must cover who owns the data and how it was procured or licensed, as well as whether it includes any copyrighted or personal information. I'm a big fan of this, for the record, and let's keep going, because few AI companies at the moment are willing to say whether they're going to comply or not. And TechCrunch, who I'm cribbing from here, reached out to whoever you think about in AI, including OpenAI, Anthropic, Microsoft, Google, Amazon, Meta, and the startups as well, including Stability, Midjourney, Udio, Suno, Runway, and Luma Labs. Now, fewer than half of these responded. Microsoft just decided not to respond at all, or rather declined to comment. Now, only Stability, Runway, and OpenAI said that they would indeed comply with AB 2013. And to be fair, AB 2013's disclosure requirements don't take effect immediately, which is why they're kind of being tested right now, even though now it's officially the law. Now, while this law applies to systems that were released on or after January 2022, think ChatGPT and Stable Diffusion, to name a few that go back quite a ways, companies still have until January of 2026, in other words, a year and change, to begin publishing training data summaries. And so the law only applies, for the record, to systems that were made available to Californians, which leaves some wiggle room as well. But there may be other reasons for vendors to basically stay silent on the matter, and it has to do with the way that most of these generative systems are being trained. Training data frequently comes from the internet. So, by virtue of that, a good chunk of them, I would say all of them, I'd wager that guess, all of them are scraping huge amounts of data, images, songs, videos, all this kind of stuff from various websites, and then training their systems on them. In other words, odds are this video at some point, or audio, could be hoovered up by one of these companies, and now they're training on my words, my image, my thoughts, my whatever. Now, in today's cutthroat market, the makeup of training data sets is considered a competitive advantage, and companies cite this in one of their main reasons for non-disclosures. In other words, it's competitive intelligence they could potentially giving away that could put them at a disadvantage. But training data details also can paint a legal target on their backs as well. We've all heard about, all of these lawsuits. Basically, each month we're seeing more and more lawsuits. George R.R. Martin, Sarah Silverman, George R.R. Martin of Game of Thrones fame, Sarah Silverman, the comedian, probably two of the most visible lawsuits out there right now. And so this is the framework. But to the point I made earlier, they are trying to change the law. Now, what I mean by this, and by they, I mean the AI companies, they're trying to change the law. So recently, and by recently, I mean within the last year or so, OpenAI was in front of the UK Parliament, and they talked in the committee, the House of Lords committee on this, and they basically put in writing, I did an entire video, podcast, and radio segment on this, that essentially they need the internet. They need copyrighted material, that they cannot train before copyright. In other words, if they're using 80-year-old data, the artificial intelligence doesn't do any good. It's not helpful because it doesn't understand modern issues, modern technology, modern approaches, modern thought. And so they need it. And what I think is going to happen, and this is my prediction, is that they are going to start petitioning, getting armies of lawyers, because there's a ton of money behind them, to really start changing the copyright and intellectual property laws in major countries like US, Canada, Europe, Australia, etc., to basically have a carve out or a set aside to allow them to use allow their generative AIs to use copyrighted material or intellectual property that they don't own, and maybe they get a pass, maybe they get it for free, maybe they get it for dirt cheap, maybe they get a blanket immunity on it, whatever that is. I think that's what they're trying to do, to say, hey, look, this is not a human, like no human, like I, Nick, am not ripping off Sarah Silverman or George R.R. Martin's Game of Thrones, but my artificial intelligence, which is not human, is simply reading this and learning on it. And here we are. And I think that's where this is going in the long run. They are going to try and change the framework of the law to give themselves an exception. And I think that's going to be the next real big legal front in the next 5 years in this. We'll see what happens. I think I'm right, but I could be wrong. And please like, share, follow me here on Facebook and Twitter at NickAESP. And please feel free to subscribe to me at YouTube as well. And as always, stay safe, stay online, and please attempt to stay private. Thanks, everybody.